Hi, tonight we have another episode of Meet the Author, and we have Dodie Milardo, who wrote the book Penelopes Cruise. This book is an unconventional tale of adventurous romantic encounters on the way to happily ever after. Dodie, can you please read the introduction for us?
Certainly. Thank you, Jason, for having me here today. What a treat this is. Okay, Penelopes Cruise is about a woman named Gina. That's me. I was thrust back into the dating scene when my husband passed away. After several dating adventures, one quite intense, I found myself approaching my 50th birthday while back at dating square one. I decided to celebrate my birthday by going on a 5-day cruise from Manhattan to Nova Scotia to disengage from the dating drama and decompress. Instead, on the first day of the cruise, I met 37-year-old Greg, who simultaneously made my senses sizzle and caressed my heart with tender loving care. I found this combination of passion and gentle stability overwhelmingly irresistible and dove right in. I was convinced that this shipboard romance would end when the cruise disembarked, but was thrillingly surprised that it continued. However, some of Greg's dots just didn't connect. I then had to navigate my way through these uncertain waters, figure out what Greg was all about, and sail through sometimes choppy seas to my happily ever after ending. I have a very favorite expression which sums up perfectly my astonishment at this entire experience. Polly, hark! That's scrambled for holy crap, but sounds so much nicer. Come sail with me on this anything but tranquil voyage.
Wow, I read the book and it's great. I mean, it reminded me of an episode of The Love Boat. Did you ever watch that show?
I did. I love that show.
And do you think that influenced a little bit the style of the book, or did you get your ideas from somewhere else, or just popped out of the air?
No, just the book just poured out of me.
But I'm sure, has anybody said to you that it's like an episode of The Love Boat?
No, actually, and you're absolutely right. I'm surprised I have not heard that before.
Okay, so I'm sure it's going to happen in the future.
Now it will.
It will. Why should people get this book?
First, if you're going on vacation, it's a great way to get out, just get out of your own head and experience a fun read. But also, it's a fictionalized romance novel. But it also has a lot of dating advice in it. And so if you're somebody who is starting to date again, you can learn an awful lot from the experiences that are shared by Gina in the book. And it gives you, even if you're a guy, by the way, it gives you insight into women and how they think and that kind of thing.
Well, that's important for men to know.
That's right.
And not only that, but you said an outcome of the book, and we'll talk about the book in a moment.
Okay.
But you said an outcome of the book is now you're actually talking on a radio show about your dating advice.
That's right. Tell
us a little bit about that.
Certainly. Do you remember Gilligans Island?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Gilligan was Bob Denver, and Bob Denver and his wife Dreama started a foundation called the Bob Denver Foundation, and that foundation owns a radio station called Little Buddy Radio. And through a marketing PR program that I had, they received information about me and called me to ask to interview me on their program. And I couldn't believe here I'm talking to Dreama Denver, Bob Denver's wife, and I agreed. We went on for what was supposed to be 15 minutes. Remember the 3-hour cruise? It was supposed to be 15 minutes. We were on for 40 minutes. And at the end of the segment, we were talking about, on air, we were talking about doing a weekly radio segment on dating and relationship issues. And it started the end of August.
So what are some of the things you learned about dating after, again, later on in life, and that you put into the book? And tell us a little bit about what the book is about. Okay.
I learned that it's important to know what you're looking for in a relationship before you go out and get it. And I call that putting together the list. And I think it's very important for you to focus in, and this sounds like you're taking a relationship and all that great emotion and you're making it into something very specific on paper, but if you don't do that, the people will ask you to go out, and you'll just say yes all the time. But if you define the qualities in somebody that you're looking for, I think it's very important. You know, if you don't know what you're looking for, how are you going to know when you find it?
So 1 second, you told me that women say yes all the time?
If maybe. Do they?
That's interesting.
Do they when you ask?
Good question. I didn't write the book, though.
That's right. That's right. But in not only in dating types of relationships, but in any type of relationship, I think it's really good for you to think about what it is you're looking for.
So that doesn't really fit in with the concepts of romantic love and spontaneity.
But it gives you the basis.
There was other people who wrote, you know, the list, things like that.
Yeah.
And so that takes away a little bit from the spontaneousness of the relationship. However, when you go on dating sites on the internet, you actually are making a list and choosing by different formats and saving time that way, maybe. So, what's your point? What's your take on that?
You're absolutely right. That's an excellent observation, because when you go on an online dating service, you have to define what you're looking for so that other people can see if you're compatible with them, and that's, again, you're defining the type of person you're looking for. Maybe, you know, if you're a very literary person and somebody else is very sports-minded, are you going to be compatible enough? You know, maybe you want to look for somebody that has the same kinds of interests as you. So I think it's, just like you said, on the online dating services, you have to define the kinds of qualities you're looking for in a person. But once you meet the person, then the spontaneity can come. So I don't think it takes away from the spontaneousness of the relationship.
So let's get a little bit more information about the book, and we'll continue with the dating portion and the outcomes that have happened since you wrote the book. Read that chapter, or read that portion now that you told me about, the romantic part. Okay?
Yeah. Where did we hide that little piece of paper? Here it is. All right, I'll set the scene. Gina, I should kind of tell you what the book is about, right?
Sure.
I should start that way. Gina is turning 50, and she's the main character in the book, and she is decided to go on a cruise to celebrate her 50th birthday. And the very first day of the cruise, she meets a 37-year-old gentleman named Greg, and they plunge into a steamy little shipboard romance. She figures it's going to end when the cruise ends, but it doesn't, okay? So they are now dating.
Everything was fictional.
No, well, a lot of this is very true. It's part memoir.
Okay.
And one of the adventures she has with him is he has to go to Paris on a business trip. And he asks her to join him after he's finished with his business, okay? So they're touring Paris, and on the way back down the Champs-Élysées.
Of course, Paris.
Okay, we're in Paris now. That's right.
Okay.
We stopped to take a sightseeing boat along the River Seine. It was a great way to see lots of sights in Paris in a short amount of time. I won't attempt to give you the tour because it paled in comparison to our adventure on this boat. As we started out, Greg took pains to find just the right seats so we could get a great view of both banks of the river from them. As we floated by Notre Dame, music started to play. What a nice touch, I thought. But then Greg stood up, got down on his right knee, and took my hands in his. And he said, I know this is absolutely the right time and the right place. It is finally our time to be happy, and I couldn't think of a better place. By then, lots of people had turned to look at us, and although I knew what was coming, I couldn't believe it. Gina, my gypsy dancer, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife and cruise, pun intended, he smiled, together through the rest of our lives. I could feel little tears, good ones, forming, and one escaped and trickled down my cheek. I just nodded my head yes and hugged him, and of course everyone clapped. So how cool was that? After he got up off his knee and sat down, and while I was trying to find my voice, Greg said, you know, I was going to propose to you last night in the Eiffel Tower, but anyone could do that. He said this very seriously, but I couldn't help laughing. I guess I was letting out some emotions, and I sure had lots of great emotions right about then. He said that although he knew he wanted to propose, the suddenness of the business trip and the realization of the perfect place to do so caught him by surprise, and he hadn't gotten a ring yet. So we could pick one out together when we got back home. He asked if that was okay with me, and I said, I didn't say no.
Okay. Was there a ring in the end? Or are we skipping
I think you have to read the book.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Let's do the proposal without the ring.
There you go.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of the book is loaded with adventures and your experiences dating with different people and advice. So what are, from people who read the book, what is one of the things that someone came up to you and said what they learned from the experience that you had?
I have several of those, but I'll do two.
You can do more than one.
Okay. One person had come up to me after reading the book, and she said, and she was so intense, and she came focused right at me, and she said,
she went to focus from your list.
Right.
We'll talk about the list in a moment.
But she talked about a situation where Gina, the main character, has a friend for a very long time, and this friend lets her down. And
was it a boyfriend? Or?
No, I'm sorry, a female friend.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they had known each other for 20 years, and right when she needed her the most, this friend just dropped the ball, and it just broke Gina's heart. She was very hurt by that. And the woman that came up to me after having read the book said, I am so glad you shared that in the book, because I felt very alone I'm going through something with a girlfriend of mine right now, and I felt very alone. I couldn't talk to anybody. I just didn't feel comfortable. But then I'm reading what you wrote, and it was like, I'm not alone.
Oh, okay.
And I did not write this book as an aid to help other people. The book I needed to tell a story, and I needed to write it down on paper, and that was the intention. So for it to have that kind of an effect on somebody was very touching for me. Very, I was very honored to have somebody benefit from it.
Led more or less to you giving advice later on. Give another example.
On that radio program.
Right.
And the other one was a friend who's a literary agent had read the book, and the next time I saw her, she came running. I mean, she was excited. She goes, the list, which is what we just talked about. The list. I used your list. I can't believe it. I met this wonderful man, and I've been dating him for 8 months. I'm like,
wow, from your list.
From using the suggestion of making the list to define the...
What are some of the things on the list?
Well, I think the list is going to be different for different people. Absolutely. For instance, what she might want... Well, you certainly want somebody that's honest. I would want somebody that's very comfortable showing affection. I like that. I like attention. I'll admit that. I want attention from my partner. I like somebody that enjoys being around people. So that's important to me.
Would you say that list is the secret to what women want in a man, or is it just a personal list?
I think it's more personal. There might be
some
common threads
to meet if the woman has her list and the men don't really know what that woman's list is. How are they ever going to meet?
Well, if you do it online, you're comparing.
Come read this first, and then you can ask me for a date.
Well, if you are trying to find someone that you want to consider as a partner, you probably should be doing things that you like to do, and joining, say, a club that involves something that you like to do, where you're going to meet people that are also doing the thing that you enjoy, similar things, right? And that way you make the odds better.
There is a philosophy actually to do the opposite, to go to things that you don't do well, so that this way you complement the other person.
That's also true.
Okay, new list. A new mission for the list.
Yeah. Well, and that would support the opposites attract.
True. But you talk about the list, you talk about the honest person, but in the book, Gina, and we know this nowadays too, she fell constantly for the bad boy. So tell me a little bit what the bad boy is, the bad boy syndrome, I call it, and why do women say, they want this nice, honest, great guy and then go out with the bad boy? And we see this over and over again.
Well, we're not all perfect.
It's only a list.
But the
biology.
Well, the bad boy thing is, you're intrigued by something that you shouldn't want. It's like a kid wanting candy, and then I shouldn't have that candy, but that's what I want because I can't have it. It's that kind of mentality, and that entity looks more interesting, whereas somebody who is more not bad boy, regular, stable, is more like boring. Now, when you get smarter about these things, you realize what's better for you, and then you can look past the bad boy thing and find somebody that really would be much better for you.
Now, one of the things, dealing a little bit on this subject, let's say a tangent of the subject that I read in the book, your definition of going out with we all heard the tall, dark and handsome man.
Yep.
And what was your definition of tall, dark, and handsome? I really like that one.
Well, tall is taller than me, and I was 5'4", so that wasn't too hard.
Okay, so you don't have to be 6 foot tall if you're a man.
Not for me.
Fall into that definition.
Right.
That's
not
interesting.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dark. I love that one. Yes.
Dark didn't have to be a dark personality.
Didn't have to be a dark person, skin-wise. It had to be.
Right.
It could be a dark personality. You said. It could be the dark side.
But a playful dark side.
Okay.
Not a bad boy dark side.
It wasn't dark as a color, as a tan.
Or dark hair. I like dark hair.
But the dark side, that was great. Okay.
The dark, yeah. And then handsome is a personal judgment. It would have to be somebody that physically, whatever, but handsome personality, handsome inside.
Okay,
that's the important part.
Love that definition.
Yeah, thank you.
For other people.
That's right.
Now, what is
the car?
The car.
Okay, this is the car. This is Gina's dream car. From when she was when these cars first came out, she just loved them. This is a 19. Yep, this is a 19. Can you guys see this? It's a 1978 Datsun 280Z. And Gina absolutely always loved this car. It was always a little out of her price range, and it wasn't a very practical car for her family, because her family was 4 people, and this was only a 2-seater car.
So this was the engagement present? Well, let's leave it at that.
There is a car in the book.
There's a car in the book.
And I think that if I say any more, I think people need to read it to find out what happens with this car in the book.
Okay, so there's a car in the book.
Yep. Love this car.
That car, once you read the book, you're going to wonder which car is it. And so at least we're showing it on television.
Yeah. That's right. You're going to wonder what the car looks like.
Because I wondered what the car looks like, and now I know.
Now you know.
Okay.
Now you know.
And you also brought this fantastic and lovely poem that I'm going to read a portion of.
Sure. My mom, who passed away a couple of years ago, out of the blue, she tells me one day that she wrote lyrics to a song, and I went, oh, sure. And she was, she wrote stuff all the time, and we go, yeah. So I said, all right, let me take a... And I did publish this in the book, yes.
Okay, because I read most of the book, but not everything.
Okay. And when she gave me this, I thought, Ma, you wrote this? This was really, really good. And there was a section in the book of this where the storyline, this kind of fit in. So that's why I published it in the book. But I'll read you just a couple of the chorus and one of the, what do they call it, stanzas. It's called Stepping In and Out of My Heart. I saw you yesterday walking down the street. You didn't see me. You're still just as handsome as one can be. And I wondered, yes, I wondered, just where did we go wrong and why we parted, because you keep stepping in and out of my heart. Now it hasn't been that long. Do you ever still think of me? Why would I ask? Well, sweetheart, although it's in the past, you keep stepping in and out of my heart. I just think it would be a really good country western song, and I'd like to eventually get this put to music. I think it would be really cool, and it would be a great honor to my mom.
And you can't think of any music yourself? You can't. You wrote a book for the first time.
Well, you know, that could be in me somewhere.
Learn how to make, go to a class where you learn how to
write music.
This is the first book you wrote, and you did a pretty good job with it. I have to say that.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
What's your future plans for the book as an author? What are things that are happening, and how are you promoting the book?
Well, I would love to have this made into a feature film. I just think it would lend itself well to a feature film.
I would definitely, if the Love Boat was still on, I would
yeah,
definitely
it would be at least one episode. It might be a whole season.
Whole season.
And what else did you ask me?
What future do you have for the book? How are you promoting it?
How am I promoting it? Well, I am actually doing my first appearance at a book club meeting because I have a book club interested, and they bought books for all the members of the book club, and they've read them, and next week I am going to be meeting with them, and they can ask them questions.
So the book club bought your book,
yes, and they chose it as their book for the month. Yes,
of the month. Oh, that's great. You're a book of the month. You know?
I was the book of the month,
and you were the book of the month, and now they're inviting the author. To come so they can ask questions about the book, and they all bring their copy of the book with them. That's great. I have been and met some authors through book clubs. It's really a nice experience. I like that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And then because of this book, I have been chosen, and I'm going to be a panel moderator at an event that'll be taking place at Mohegan Sun. So I'm very excited about it. I would have never expected, probably never been asked to be a panel moderator, except now that I have a book. And the panel is a group of Harlequin romance novelists.
Wow.
So what kind of exposure, that the book will get for that, and I'm very excited about that. That'll be a lot of fun for me, because I'd love to be a Harlequin romance novelist.
You're going to be the dating queen,
And then something else that came out of this that I didn't expect, there was an article in the Hartford Courant when the book first came out, and I was inviting, as part of the article, they mentioned that I was inviting people to submit essays, and I was going to take, if I got enough of them and they were good enough, I was going to put them together into a book, publish it, and then make a donation to charity. Separate book. And a high school girl sent me an essay, and it was basically a memoir of her life so far, and she was only in high school, and this was pretty dramatic, and it caught my eye.
You had competition.
She's I think she shows a lot of promise. And now what's happened is I've turned into a mentor for her, and we found an editor for her to edit the book. Yep. And so I'm going to help her get her project off the ground, and I never would have expected. And that's because I wrote a book, so it was really cool.
That's cool.
Yep, she's in college now.
She's in college now?
Yeah, she's in college now.
But she wrote it when she was a teenager.
She started it. She's almost finished with it.
She's going to be a teenager and be in college.
She's 20 now.
Oh, 20?
Yeah, I think she's 20.
Now, you wrote down that you're using some of your book to raise funds for charities, okay? And the name of your charity is To Give Is Divine. It's www.togiveisdivine.com. Now
the charity, the company is not a charity. It's not a 501c3, okay? But what it does is, the mission of the company is to create products and events that give back, and the book is one of the products.
Okay.
Okay, and then the money gets donated to a specific charity.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I know that different authors are having part of the proceeds of the sales of their books go to charities. So can you discuss a little bit about that, why an author would do this? Why couldn't they just get the money from the book and then privately give it to a charity? Or what is this whole movement about? And you're not the only one. I see it quite a bit, actually.
My original intent, when I never expected to be writing a book in my life. I never was something like a burning desire or anything like that. But when this situation happened in my life, people kept saying, oh, as I was relating to friends, they kept saying, you have to write a book, you have to write a book. And I'm like, yeah. I was a math major in college. Math brains don't write books, you know. So, but the thought stayed with me, and I thought, okay.
Is that a theorem?
Is it a theorem? The hypothesis,
which was proven wrong.
which was proven wrong, was yes,
Okay.
I'm going to write a book. While I was writing it, because I just wanted to put the story down on paper. I was also volunteering at the time, and the two concepts merged, and I just decided to use the book to donate money to charity.
Well, you know
don't
other
know.
authors who are doing this, correct?
I mean, I've heard that other authors do this, and I think the book, though, has to be good on its own, and then it sells, and then the person can donate to charity. I mean, if it's a book that's related, the topic is related. Like, for instance, if I wrote a book about my mom passing away from bladder cancer, and there was a bladder cancer organization or the American Cancer Society, I wanted to use it to raise money for the American Cancer Society, that kind of fit makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, this is a romance novel, but I just want to use it to help people.
Okay. That's pretty good. Let's see. So we also mentioned that maybe you wanted to be a TV show hostess like Oprah. What other type of questions are you getting? And
Questions I'm getting about the book?
About the book, experiences that people read the book, or questions on your radio show. What other questions have you had?
Most of the questions that I get after somebody reads it are, is this part true? Is this part true? Is this part true? And basically, almost everything in there is true. I may have changed who it happened to, or the sequence of events, but mostly everything happened, and mostly everything happened to me. And some of it is stuff I wanted to have happen to me, but didn't have happen to me. So I made it up anyway.
So that's a good question. What happens, we're closing the show right now, but
Okay.
What would be your last advice for someone that the relationship didn't work out?
To not give up. To think about what... There is another piece of advice I would like to give, though.
Sure, go ahead.
Trust your gut feelings.
Yes, that's Penelope.
That's a huge
That is
part of this
Penelope
book.
in the book.
That
was
is
your gut feeling.
Gina, because a lot of people ask me, well, why, if the book is called Penelopes Cruise, but Gina's the main character, well, who's Penelope?
Penelope.
Gina trusts her gut so strongly that she names it Penelope. And
Go with your gut feeling.
not go with them all the time, but pay a lot of attention to them, because they may be there to warn you, they may be there to just bring something to an awareness. Don't ignore them.
But don't ignore it. Very good advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of like when you have a gut feeling on a question on a test, they say go with that.
Go with the gut feeling.
Doesn't have to always be correct, but most chances it will be.
I mean, pay attention to the facts too, but those gut feelings are pretty good.
So we're closing, and I'd like you to autograph
Certainly.
this copy for me.
Okay.
And I truly enjoyed the book. I thought it was exciting. There are some moments in the book we didn't talk about, especially with the race car driver. You've had some cool people there that you dated, some real winners.
That's a good word for them.
Okay.
Yep. There you go.
Winners and winners. And that was pretty cool, But again, as you said, this book could have been anybody's stories. These are day-to-day stories that can happen to anybody, and how everyone has to go through these scenes, and how do you get by?
Right.
So as you said, just keep on going. Don't give up.
Keep on going. Don't give up.
Even for dating.
Even for dating. Even for dating.
Well, thank you for being guest on Meet the Author.
Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure. Very nice.